What's up, Change the Channel podcast listeners? My name is Megan Grace, and this is another episode of Change the Channel podcast. Welcome back to the show. It feels so good to be back on here recording again. I have been literally around the world and playing in a bunch of different spaces and working through some of my own mental health. And sometimes I believe that part of the stand of being a person that's changing the channel in our capitalistic and busy culture is sometimes stepping away from things when it doesn't feel good in the moment, and then choosing to come back when it feels raw and authentic and like a space where I'm supposed to be. So that's first channel changed that I wanted to just highlight is you do not have to stay busy because at one point, 6 months, 2 weeks, a year ago, you committed to being as busy as you are. You can listen to your body. You can be present with what's coming up currently. You can still be a strong and empowered human and sometimes move at different paces, a little faster or a little slower. So in case you needed a little permission, here it is. It's your permission slip. You can have moments where you have bursts of energy and are willing to share and want to grow and expand and connect. And you can also have times of inwardness and sitting with some deeper, maybe more murky emotions. And that actually means that you're healthy, turns out. Turns out being able to feel the wide range of emotions and getting to feel them in real time when something is happening and you actually feel it in your body when it's happening and recognize what it is. My therapist says that is a sign of health. So there you go. Now you know. I wanted to share a little story today for just changing your channel and giving you hopefully some fun and joy. My favorite thing, as we know from the theme of the number of times and places and ways that I am talking to you from airports, that I love to travel. I believe that traveling is essential because when you literally go outside of your regular operating space, you get to rub shoulders with people that have completely different world views or life experiences. It's so much harder to stay in a judgmental headspace when you have real life experiences with different human beings. So I highly recommend it, whether it's driving an hour outside of where you are to taking a plane and flying halfway across the world, leaving your regularly operating experience and area. It's actually really healthy. Well, this particular thing, I am going to walk you all the way back to a little over a year ago when I was playing with some, manifestation, calling in beautiful things to my life. And one of the things I really wanted to do was visit a dear friend that lived in England. And I was like, man, the tickets, I'm looking at the tickets and I'm thinking, okay, I can play with my miles. I can get myself there. How would it work? Is anyone else out there a miles fan? Like where when you have to pay a bill that's the most annoying, you're like, but that's 400 more miles closer to wherever I'm going. Shout out to you if you are. I love miles. So I was in this feeling of, really, really wanting to go to England. I didn't want to use all of my miles to do it. And all of a sudden, lo and behold, Instagram, almighty Instagram, was listening to me. No one's shocked. But all of a sudden I see this ad pop up across my screen that British Airways was doing a drawing. They were giving away 2 free round trip tickets direct flight from Portland, Oregon to London. And I will tell you, the first thing I thought of when I looked at it is, number one, that's too good to be true. Anyone else out there? Number two, my mind went straight to, I'm not a person that wins that stuff. Now, I want to pause on this. If you are someone that also has the everyone wins but me channel that runs in your mind, we get to shift some of that. I have definitely felt that way before and was battling with it a little bit with this. And the anecdote for it was calling a friend that lives in high vibration, believes in possibility, is there for the ride. Because then even going on the adventure of trying to win these tickets was going to turn into something fun because I was doing it with a friend. So just keeping those people in your back pocket, maybe even this episode to help you believe if you want, but hearing one other voice that says, yes, it is in fact possible. You are worthy of winning. And that's true, listener. You are worthy of winning. Winning isn't just for everyone else, that you're looking around at. Winning isn't just for people with 1 million followers on whatever social platform you're looking at. Winning gets to be for all of us in big and small ways. So all that to say, I looked at the ad and I even was with my cousin at the time. It was like, I got to go. I'm going to go try to win these tickets. And that was vulnerable. Have you ever told someone your kind of out there wacky dream? And for 1 million reasons, we've learned over time that you just don't do that with people because you're not sure how they'll respond. And I was actually feeling kind of vulnerable even saying it out loud. But I was all in. I was going to figure it out. I was going to see if it worked. And if it did, and if it didn't, I was kind of in the same place, right? So I get in my car and I'm driving. And if you've been to Portland before, there's kind of, there's one side of the river and the other side of the river kind of thing. And I was crossing the river, going into the more congested kind of downtown area. And Portland is also notorious for blocking off streets for biking events, random running things. I must say I'm not a biker, so I don't get it. But there was on this day, in fact, like some bike ride for whatever known reason. And I started hitting all these obstacles where one after another, the streets were closing. I was stuck in traffic. All of a sudden it started to rain. All the elements were telling me, girl, you are crazy. Like, this isn't your deal. We're not a person that wins. All this is annoying. So this is when I was on the phone with my friend and I was like, I don't know. And she goes, I mean, you're almost there. Just like, what's the worst that will hurt? And then as soon as I said, well, parking is ridiculous, then all of a sudden, a car pulls out. Perfect size for my car. I whip it in parallel parking and get out of the car, and I am greeted with pouring down rain and wind. I was like, all right, this is when the grit gets to come in. I am now invested. I have driven. I have been through weird traffic obstacles. I have bobbed and dodged and weaved, and I found a parking spot. It's happening. It's on. I am doing this. So I walk, I don't even know how many blocks it was, but up and around and through, and I find this cute little setup that British Airways had with one of the, famous red telephone booths and some fun little like things you could hold and, flags and I forget what else they had, but they were like, oh, are you here to enter the drawing? And I said, yes. And I told them a little bit about how excited I was to be able to see this person that lives in England and that it just felt special and it felt right. And they were all really excited. And, the girl took some cute pictures of me and next to the telephone booth, because what I learned was basically the drawing was put something on your own social media, use the hashtags, and then they'll pick someone. So again, I'm hamming it up in front of the camera. I'm kind of figuring out what I'm going to do. And I leave and I just had this magic feeling. And now the feeling had nothing to do with winning the tickets. The feeling had everything to do with overcoming changing the channel in my mind, overcoming all these little mini obstacles along the way that were telling me that I was somehow unworthy of this experience. When we walk through an experience and experience a different outcome, it makes our mindset have to grapple with that, right? Because now when I hear that sound in my mind that's like, "Ooh, girl, this is going to be too much. You can't do it." Then my body's like, "Well, we just did. You are so much more capable of dealing with minor inconveniences and the self-doubt and worthiness conversations. You can get your ass in the car and go do a thing." That can happen. Man, it was so liberating. It was so empowering. I was soaking wet because of the rain, but I felt like I had accomplished something. And so I went home and I spliced together the pictures that they had taken. I did an Instagram reel with parts of, those pictures. And then the last time I was in England, added Fergie's London Bridge song in the background, nice and cheeky, and wrote up my little, my little entry caption and posted it. Now, I would love to say that when I posted it, I felt some kind of magic tingles and the world just I was like, it's going to happen. I posted it and immediately the Stealer of Joy channel comes back in and says, "Ooh, what are your friends going to think? Are they going to think you're one of those people? The people that thinks they can win things?" Okay, can we talk about that? I don't know whose voice that is, and I don't know if I'm the only one that has that voice, but there is an invisible audience within the back part of my mind that is mean as hell to me, and somehow decides to rope in the thought that my friends might also be as mean as this voice is. Turns out, change the channel fam, there is no one as mean as that voice. And I was like, okay, I'm going to put this out there. I'm going to be excited. And literally, I was holding on to the excitement and voice of my friend Erin Ramsey. She has this incredible business called You're Such a Catch. I will put her information in the show notes. She is the person that you want in your pocket with you when you're manifesting badass things. She has this amazing business with these hats that have affirmations written on the inside of the bill. So it's right across your third eye, like pineal gland. So basically, your body is just soaking in these truths that she offers, just like she did for me. So that being said, when the channels in our mind that get the most protective, we'll say, the ones that don't want us to look silly, the ones that want us to fit in, the ones that don't want us to be disappointed, start rearing their lovely heads, we'll say. You want to have somebody else in your corner that's louder and more vibrant and speaks truth to you about who you are and what you're capable of. Erin was that for me that day. So when I posted it, I texted her and I said, I posted it, and she went in and commented on it right away and was like, "This is for you. I can feel it," and it was amazing. What I learned through that is it's powerful to have other people along for the ride with us if they are the right kind of people for us that are believing in the best for us. There's nothing quite like having someone along for the ride running next to you when you are running hard after your dreams. And especially when that mean, invisible audience voice comes in and starts telling you everything to keep you small and safe. Shout out to the body for helping to keep us safe, but sometimes you just got to go for it. And I will tell you, I had posted this on there and was, just minding my business, doing life. And all of a sudden, I get a message from them and it said, "You've won." Me. I won. I won this drawing. I won 2 round trip tickets to to London. And I was absolutely shocked. It was so funny because, a couple of my friends were like, "Of course, I knew you would get it." And I'm like, how is it that other people can believe so much easier and see our sparkle before we do? And a lot of times. And so anyway, I get I get the tickets, and then it turned into a thing where I was like, oh, now I've got to make the perfect trip. This trip has to be perfect because now it's been manifested and it's happened and I won. And y'all, nothing takes away the fun of an Enneagram 7 personality like mine than feeling like you have to have fun the right way. Can we talk about that? Are there any perfectionist style folks out there, or people that are trying to avoid pain and trying to avoid disappointment like the plague? I literally was just, holding on to these tickets, and it felt like it had to be the perfectly aligned time to use them. Well, I went back and forth with the lady that was in charge of helping me, and bless her heart, we did not communicate the best. It turned into yet another opportunity for me to practice believing these tickets are for me. I won these tickets. I'm allowed to ask for the things that I win, the things that I earn, and the things that I want. Does anyone else have that channel that runs in your mind? Be compliant, be easy, don't take up space, don't need things from people. Do not inconvenience this human being who I do not know. I just know her name, but somehow her level of comfort felt more important than me getting to be on this trip. And what I learned from that is it went back to a worthiness conversation again, right? And it came back to sometimes persistence is the muscle that we are exercising, right? Persistence to ask again for the thing that we know that we want or that we know that we've earned. Persistence means sending one more email or double checking one more time or finding a polite and kind way to say, "Yo, can we schedule this, please?" And so finally, there was the day when I was so exasperated. I was like, I don't even think these tickets are going to happen. But I wrote her one more time, and she said, "If you can go these dates, April 3rd through the 13th, then you can go." And I was like, done. Like, let's go. And then by that point, it was kind of last minute. It was challenging to find a person to be able to go with. And so I was like, okay, instead of waiting for all the ducks to be in a row, I just decided to invite my other friend that lives in Europe, and she is just ride or die, always down to play, plans the best trips. Side note, if you're a person that doesn't like to plan, find you a friend that is like, planning is part of their gifting on this planet. My friend Tabitha can plan a trip with plenty of space in between for, the random happenings, but has these kind of points to hit. And I'm telling you, this woman's Google foo is incredible too. She can navigate you around a city like she's a local. And what I learned from that whole experience was I could have sat back and used the fact that, there wasn't someone that could go with me. That meant that somehow I wasn't supposed to go. All the ways we talk ourselves out of the adventures of a lifetime. And again, I called my friend Erin. Basically, this podcast should be sponsored by Erin Ramsey, because I was like, "Erin, what do I do with this?" And she goes, maybe the important thing is for you to be on the plane with yourself and the rest will unfold. And it was exactly what happened. And I will share some of my learnings, the things that happened on the trip at a later time. But for this episode, the biggest takeaways that I'm hoping we can sit with when we're changing the channel is, number one, you are worthy of winning, whether they're big wins, small wins. Do not wait for only the massive wins to celebrate. Get your play clothes dirty. Reach out for something that may be a long shot, but it could be the thing that reminds you that you are actually also worthy of winning. The second one is the invisible audience in our minds can be the meanest voice, the most intrusive voice, the loudest voice, but it doesn't make it the truth. And one of the most powerful ways to move through that is to keep a community around you of at least one or two people. And if you don't have that quite yet, feel free to use this podcast as your hype human in your pocket to say, when the going gets brave because you're trying something new, have someone that believes in you, that's standing next to you, cheering for you, reminding you of the truth and sovereignty of who you are. Number three, the invisible audience is never right. The invisible audience is keeping you safe, and often it feels true because I don't know why. I think it's mostly because the words feel like every doubt we've ever had, and sometimes we've spent more time sitting with our doubts than we have with our wins, and so it feels true, but it's not. The invisible audience, the mean voice in your head that tells you to stay small and stay out of the way and need nothing, is not true, dear friend. When you start to feel that, that's when you get to dive into some of your change the channel tools or reach out for support. And the next thing is flying when the ticket is won. Felt like a completely different level of love and best. Like when I was on the plane and they were like, oh, would you like something to drink? And I was like, yeah, I'll have, I was going to just get, my regular thing. And they're like, would you like wine? Like, yes, your girl would like wine. They're like, one bottle or two. I'm like, do they know that I'm on here as the winner? Like, yes, please, I will have two. And she was like, here for me having basically this whole army of different beverages sitting on my cute little tray. I was so here for it. The flight felt ordained and special. And as I was sitting next to this guy that was flying back to Germany, telling him that I had won the tickets and that it felt wild to even be sitting in that seat, actually sparked some belief and joy in him. We both started talking about how cool it is to win things, and I could feel the vibration rising within even just our row. And I realized that sometimes sharing our wins with others, depending on how we do it and how they're feeling at the time, can invite them along for the ride. He was lucky to be in row 28 with me. And so he got to be along for the magic and mysticism that came with being on a trip that the tickets were free. And they were free because I won because of my creativity and because I put myself out there. So friends, invite people in to your wins and to your dreams. Find people that will cheer you on when you are trying something new and big. The invisible audience that is loud and mean is not truth. It is just simply your nervous system trying to keep you safe, using old models and old ways. You are bigger than those stories, and you are bigger than those limitations. And persistence. Persistence is not annoyance. Persistence is this deep inner grit that says, I am worthy of taking a moment of someone else's time to have this experience for myself. And how can you exercise that muscle? Where can you lean into persistence as a form of grit and worthiness in your life? What could be possible if you leaned in and if that was the thing that happened for you? Well, thank you for coming along for the ride with me on British Airways in, row and seat 28, I believe it was 28C, with 2 little bottles of red wine, the best seat companion, and the best cheering squad of friends that were literally talking me through the whole process. And up to the day of, I had a couple other friends. Shout out to Danielle, and then of course Erin, for being in my corner, reminding me that this trip is exactly as it was meant to be. And it was the perfect balance of all sorts of personal growth, time with friends, being in another country, getting out of my sphere and space. And it revived me. It gave me energy and excitement to get back on this podcast and chat with you, something that I deeply and dearly love, in a space of authenticity and just, giving the bird to the have tos and leaning into the I want tos to be with you during this story. Thank you so much for being with me, for being my travel companion, out there changing the channel, making life better for everyone around you. And on this episode, we're just going to call this a wrap. So thank you so much for being here. Go forth, change the channel around you in those small moments. Be kind to yourself, be kind to each other. And this is another episode of Change the Channel podcast.